Hello YouTube, it's Maddie the Empty Nest Scrapper. Today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite go-to paper crafting supplies. As you can see, I've got some rulers out, and that's probably one of the first things you'll look to when you are crafting. This one is a ruler I've had since the beginning of time. No need to replace it, it works just fine. Any metal edge ruler would probably be great. These two, the clear ones, I invested in a little bit later. This T ruler was very inexpensive but very useful. So if you want a sentiment placed correctly or straight on your card, or you want to make sure your photos are straight on your scrapbooking layout, I would highly recommend this even if you are just a beginner. I waited a pretty long time to invest in that one, and that was needless. It really is an inexpensive tool. This one by Tim Holtz is pretty nifty because it does give you a center zero, and if you are trying to find the center either on your layout or on your card, this makes it a little bit easier. I don't know that it was super important to have, but I find it to be handy to have around. This is a craft mat. You can use it to cut on. It was the very first one I ever used. It is well used. It has cuts, it has stains. This one I got at Michael's. You can see it's a Recollections Michael's brand, and it served its job well. If you're a beginner scrapbooker or crafter, this is just fine. If you just want to see if you like being a paper crafter, or if you would want to try card making, this is perfectly fine. I used it for years. You can flip it over and get a little bit more life out of it, although this side gives me a headache, so I never used it. Over time, I sort of upgraded to the very popular Tim Holtz craft mat and the glass mat. So if you're a paper crafter already, you've seen this a million times, you probably have it. It is lots of fun because you can use it for anything. You can make a card right on it, you can make a layout right on it, you can put ink on it, you can use it as a painter's palette. If you decide you like being a paper crafter, I would really highly recommend this, and I certainly would say use a coupon if you can, and it's not altogether really expensive. Next up, if you're a paper crafter, you're going to want to cut some paper. You can grab these right out of your kitchen. If not these, something very close to it. Everybody has some scissors, and they work out just fine. When you're paper crafting, you use a lot of adhesive. These have a coating, so supposedly the glue or adhesive doesn't stick to it. You can clean them probably a little bit easier than these. These small ones are used for fussy cutting, which is just a way the crafters say that they're cutting around an image, and you do need a smaller pair like this. Once you've watched some YouTube, no doubt you've seen these guys. So these are the Tim Holtz scissors. People will say, oh, they've got that squishy handle, and they do. They're very comfortable to hold. And they have a serrated edge. Actually, I know that there is one haberdashery scissors that don't have the serrated edge, but you can really, really make a smooth cut with this. But for me, I generally reach for these. This one, I have a coated one in the larger size as well. Why? Because I'm super lazy. I have to take this protective cover off, and I'm never prepared enough to have it ready. So I'm in the middle of something, I reach for my scissors. Which one do I go to? I go to these or the coated one. Unless I'm cutting something really large, and these are awesome. Because if you want to cut straight, one cut is so much easier to cut straight with, and these are the only guys that will do that job. So if you're going to choose scissors and you're a beginning crafter, there is nothing wrong with your kitchen scissor. Go ahead and use it. If you feel like you are cutting a bunch of large paper with a scissor, or if you're cutting something that's not paper, if you're cutting chipboard, which is just cardboard, but crafters call it chipboard, I don't know why. If you're cutting wire, if you're cutting something dense, these Tim Holtz scissors in all sizes are excellent, and your kitchen scissors will not do the job. In regards to trimmers, there are very popular guillotine trimmers. This is my favorite. Many people still use this. Most people are using a guillotine trimmer. I have heard recommendations that the guillotine is a straighter cut, and you don't get fuzzy edges, and you don't have to replace the blade. However, this Fiskars trimmer, and the smaller one just like it, has a wire guide, which anyone who has been looking at videos or been crafting a little bit knows there's a little wire in here, and I cannot cut a photograph or a piece of pattern paper without it and do a good job. When I use a guillotine trimmer, for some reason it's always off. A little off on one side or the other. The blade probably will stay sharp, excuse me, forever. However, for me, I need the wire guide, and I will always use this. Yes, I replace the blade, but for me, I'd rather replace a blade than ruin a project. So, crafter's choice. Everybody chooses what they like the best. Next up, adhesive. I have so much adhesive, I don't even know what's wrong with me. I just took out my favorites, and you know, it's crazy talk when you see how many there are. Just the favorites. Someday maybe I'm going to do a comparison, because I want to get it straight in my head which one I should really be going to all the time. Okay, this one is the only spray that I have in the bunch. It is the Pixie spray, and I use that mainly for my scan and cut. So if you're a beginner, you're not going to have a scan and cut yet, and you don't even need to think about it unless you become a serious paper crafter. Basically, when I stamp images, I don't like to cut them out. So I put it in my scan and cut and have the machine do it for me. It should stick to the mat that comes with the machine, but it does not. This stuff will stick it down and it works like a charm. Also fabulous for sticking down stencils and making sure nothing gets under it while you're inking it. So that's a pixie spray. This guy is my quick dry, and I use this exclusively for when I go on crops. Once upon a time, we were allowed to go outside and be with people. If I ever get to do that again, and I hope I do, I will use this when I'm on the go because I want my glue to dry quickly enough so that nothing gets ruined from the beginning of the crop to when I pack up to go home. Okay, so these two, the multimedia matte and the distress collage medium, I like them both for the same reason. I see very little difference, so I get whichever one is on sale. This one I've been refilling a while because you can get it in tubs and use a syringe to refill it. I use them because they dry matte. They dry matte. There is no shine. And for me, that's the very most important thing because I am messy. When I put something down, there's a 75% chance something's oozing out the side, and if it's matte, at least, you don't notice it or barely notice it. So, for that reason, these two, my favorites. Excuse me. These two, the Art Glitter Glue, Gina K Connect. These I was intrigued to try because of the so many YouTube videos where crafters were raving about it. Now, the reason that these are important is because they go down very, very thin. This one, if you buy a kit, you can get this metal tip with this pin that sticks in, and it gives you a thin run. This one also is very easy to maneuver. The glue, people rave about it. To me, almost all glue is the same. I'm more concerned about if it's shiny or matte. And these guys, when I notice, are a little bit shiny. And I don't think I would buy them again. What I think I would do is refill my favorite glues into these bottles. I'll let you know how that works out. But those are my favorite or most used wet glues. If I were a new crafter, either one of these, I would say, gets the job done. Anything's gonna really hold paper. They are strong enough, I believe, for almost any embellishment. So that's my recommendation for any new crafter. Next up, dry adhesive. Some of the most controversial items out there. This is my arsenal of dry adhesives that I use. Okay, why? This guy I absolutely love. Lots of people think it's too heavy. They don't want to use it. I don't have any problem with it, but I do not have arthritis or any difficulty with my hands. But the main reason, this guy has 100 feet of adhesive inside. You are going to have to learn. There's a learning curve to refilling the adhesive, but is by far and away the most cost effective. So if that's important to you, this is the way to go. Nothing comes close. The adhesion is great, and there are also even third-party sellers that sell the tape that goes inside even more reasonably than you can find in most of the craft stores or on Amazon. This, absolutely love it, but it's not for everyone, because some people have arthritis or are not interested in learning how to refill it. And then we have this baby. So this one is much lighter, much smaller. Even though it has a large footprint, this one has 150 feet. And for this, even though the refill is a little more expensive, I will bring this to an all-day crop. And this way I know I will have enough adhesive no matter what I make. In order to change the cartridge, it's super easy. You just open up the cover and pull it out. That is it. That is it. Then you put it back in. Watch me not be able to do it now. It just supposed to click right in. Yes. So there's no winding or threading it. It's got great adhesive inside. And also, there's a variety of different kinds of tape. This one has the dots. You can also get the strips. You can also get the temporary, so one that you'll be able to remove if you are not going to put something down permanently. This one is exclusively for going to a crop. So again, back when we all went outside into the world, I had a regular crop with a bunch of other girls, and I would want to pack this. So these puppies are pretty expensive for what they are. I would even bring with me these refills. I think there's only 39 feet in each one of these. So depending on how much you craft on any given night, that's how much you got. But it works like a charm. If it was inexpensive to refill, I'd use it all the time because it is easy to hold, easy to use, and has great adhesion. However, it is not inexpensive, and so it's just for me, for on the go. When I make a mistake, and I always do, I really do love this adhesive eraser. And as so many people do, you've seen this before. If you're a crafter and you put down a little bit of tape runner and it overflows or it's not where you want it, you can erase it away with this little tape eraser. Easy peasy. Who knew you would ever want to erase? But that's something you can do. What do you know? Next, I want to talk a little bit about stamping. When I first started really trying to make cards, I was given a subscription to Stampin' Up! Subscription box, and no matter what I did, I could not get a stamp to work properly. And I decided stamping is not for me until I got me one of these. So this unfortunately is no longer on the market. It is Stamp Perfect, and it was made by Hampton Arts or, Stamp Perfect. Oh, I've taped this. I don't see a brand here, but I think it's Hampton Arts. And it came out for a little while. I saw it. I had a coupon. I think I paid $10 for it. And this baby saved me. I tried stamping again. Clear stamps, sentiments. This is my favorite stamp. Beautiful flowers. It was super expensive. I rarely spend $20 or so on a stamp, but I love it. And red rubber stamps. All of Tim Holtz's stamps are red rubber. Everything comes out perfect with a stamp positioning tool. So if you tried stamping with a stamping block and it didn't work out for you, then I recommend you try it again. The only one in the United States that is still being sold is the Misty, and they are pricey. If you want to stamp and you've tried a block and it's not working for you, then I highly recommend any kind of stamp positioning tool. That one, I think from time to time, I still see on eBay. Maybe it's $20, maybe it's $25, but I think the teeny tiny stamp positioning tool by Misty is a minimum of $60 plus shipping and tax. I think I would get it anyway if I had to. People who have a Misty love it. So I'm sure it's a great tool. It's just too rich for my blood. Along with stamping, I love to emboss my images. And for embossing, I generally use Ranger embossing powder. If I am using the clear like this, I'm going to use VersaFine ink. VersaFine black ink is my favorite for embossing, especially sentiments. And you do need a powder tool. There's one like this. This is my favorite. There's another one that has a brush on it. It is not my favorite. Looks like this. I thought I would like it. I tried it. Like this better. So it's up to you. But for embossing, you do not need to have a powder tool in order to make sure that your powder only sticks where you want it to stick. Here is the Versamark glue pad, basically. And if you're going to emboss in a color, white, black, whatever color you like, this one is the one to use. If I want the black, I use this with the clear. If I want a different, if I want to use the clear embossing, I use this one with the colored powder of my choice. So when you have to emboss, you will need a heat tool. This is the one I use. It was a recommendation from YouTubers on any of the craft channels. I know they've come out with a new one, and I heard it is great. This one is the older one. It only has one speed. The newer one, I believe, is shaped a little bit different and has two speeds, but this one works great. I highly recommend it. So Another thing to consider when stamping is you will need some ink. So here is my favorite ink. I just pulled out a few. You can stamp with it. You can blend with it, which is so very fun. And my favorite things to blend with are these brushes. You can get them on Amazon. They are around $10, depending on, you know, the variants. I've seen them as high as 11 or 12. Lowest I've seen was $9.99, but they create a beautiful blend. You can also paint with these, and there are really lovely techniques that you can do with them. You can smush with them. You can paint with them. Lots of fun. I love these inks, and I love these blenders. If you are on the go, I have a full set of these. They pack lovely. They stamp great. I haven't done any techniques with them, blending or smushing or any mixed media type of techniques, but they are a nice ink. So next up, if you are going to stamp, let's say, one of the images I showed you before, the beautiful flowers, you're going to want to color that in. So these are the coloring tools that I use. These are water-based markers. You can color with them. You can blend with them. They have two tips. So there's a brush tip. Can you see that? And there's a fine tip. People who are good at brush lettering are able to use these and do a beautiful job. I am not one of those people. There are tons of marker brands from every price range. I haven't tried them all. I tried these, I liked them, and I didn't move on to anything else. I understand there are markers called Karen markers. They have been floating around YouTube for the last few months, and I've been watching tutorials. They look great. I don't need anything, and I need to remind myself of that. In addition to the Tombos, I have these real brush markers. So these are made by Zig, and they're a little bit pricey. I did get them as a gift. It was on my Amazon wish list, and one of my kids, I think, gave them to me. I have a set of 24. I really like them, but a little while later, I saw a tutorial about similar markers with a real brush and paint inside. That's what these are, made by Adhesive, and they are much more reasonably priced. And when I saw a good sale, I bought a larger pack of the Adhesive, and I don't like the brush. The brush is a lot larger. It's not something that I felt was better for me to use. Even though I am price conscious, I am sticking with the Zigs. I have a set of 24. They are watercolors. You can mix the colors. I can make a ton of different colors. I'm sticking with what I have. And if you want to try brush markers to see if you like them, You can buy SIGs one at a time. I don't know if you can buy Arteza one at a time. You may want to buy a small pack and see if you like them. You may want to buy one zig and see if you like it better. That is the beauty of crafting. Everybody is entitled to their own favorites. These are alcohol markers. These particular markers are made by Spectrum Noir, and they are called the Illustrator. The reason I chose these was because they have a brush nib on one side and a fine tip on the other. So this is the brush. This is the fine tip, very, very small. Alcohol markers are used for coloring in stamps usually, or an illustration if you have some talent. And they are known to blend if you have the right colors. The brush nib is generally considered the easiest way to blend alcohol markers. And the Copics are the very best, I understand, from every single crafter I've ever seen on YouTube, but they are out of my range. There are a ton of brush marker brands that are really inexpensive and probably a great deal, but they have a brush nib and a chisel nib, which is not something that I would want to use. So I chose these, and I'm going to use these, and I don't think I'm going to replace these unless I have to. I don't do a whole lot of alcohol marker coloring, but from time to time when I do, that's what I use. This is my favorite watercolor set. I would buy it again in a heartbeat. There are 15 colors. It is a student grade is what they call it. So it's not a crafter's palette necessarily. But supposedly if you are learning to paint, this is good for students. Now, why can't I open anything if I have the camera on? I don't know. There we go. So that's what it looks like. There are 15 colors, and they mix well. Oh, it looks like this was stuck. Maybe that was why. They mix well, and they are transparent, and I really enjoy them. So if you are interested in trying to watercolor, they're not terribly expensive. I think before COVID, when I got these a couple years ago, I think it was $19 for the set of 15 that's in here. It's a 12 plus 3 set. I don't know how available they are right now with everything mostly closed, but this is the one I go to. I have a bunch of other watercolors. This is the one I go to. Last but not least, oh, before I do that, when you are coloring, you're going to want to stamp out your image in order to color it in. This is the brand I use for the alcohol markers. Those are these, the Illustrators. Certain inks will work with certain types of coloring mediums. The Memento can be used with the Illustrator. It will not smudge. The archival is waterproof. So if you're going to use these, the zigs, or if you're going to use the Tombos, and that was this guy, you will want to use a waterproof ink. This is the one I use. I don't know if these two are the best. These are the ones I tried. They worked as I was told they would work, so I haven't tried others. You will see that if you're new to crafting and you take some recommendations from crafters as to which one is the very best, that's only until the next very best comes around. So you have to be careful of that. Here's my mono eraser. This is excellent. If you make a mistake, there's a smudge on your paper, and it's not a terribly, terribly dark smudge, but it's enough to ruin your project. This baby will take it right off. So highly recommend that for anyone. Last but not least, the super funnest of all, embellishments. So you've made a card, you've made a scrapbook page, and you want it to look pretty. These are the things I like to use. Embellishments are something that is absolutely a matter of opinion. Whatever you like on your card is what you can embellish it with. This is glossy accents, and when you squeeze this onto either your image or your page, it will be glossy, as it says. You can make glossy clear dots, and they come out very cute. Most of the time, if you have stamped something that is, let's say, a fishbowl, some water, and you fill this over, it makes it look like it's water. So for me, I like these blingies. These are from Recollections, and they're just stickers. Here are some wood embellishments, just some examples, and I like to use those on my pages or my cards. Here are some enamel dots. You can use it for just about anything. These are the Recollections brand, and these are from Dollar Tree. Whatever is your favorite color that you see at that time, there's no difference. These are great to use too. These two are some shimmer applicators. This one is made by Zig. This one is made by Nuvo. I had been using this. I hadn't used it up. I was watching a YouTube video and someone said this one is better. To me, there's no difference. But to add a little bit of shimmer to your card or your scrapbook page, you just open this up. I can't open anything today. And it adds a little shimmer. So you can see it's wet now, but when it dries, there's going to be some shimmer. This one, to me, same exact thing. There may be a little bit more shimmer. I probably should have shaken that a little bit more. This is my Signo white gel pen, and it's my favorite white gel pen. I do use it to fix some mistakes, make a mistake go away by making it white again. This is my black glaze pen. And this pen is excellent for making a shiny mark on your stamp, card, scrapbook page. So you can see it's going to be glossy. And when I want to add a little something, I will use this shiny little black pen. So these are my go-tos. If you're just starting out, do you need all of these? No. A scissor, a trimmer, some good adhesive, some stamps if you're making cards, some colored paper. But what I did was get caught up in the next new thing. And when I sat down and looked at what do I go to, it's not necessarily the newest thing, it's the one that I go to. So this is my advice. I hope you find it helpful. I'd really love to know, what is your favorite go-to? Are any of your favorites the same as mine? I think in my next video, I am going to do what I would not buy again. I watched a few crafters do some videos on what they would not buy again. And I thought that was way more useful even than the favorite go-to craft tools. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it helped anybody who's new sort out what they might want to use. And I hope you'll come back. So leave me a comment, leave me a thumbs up, let me know what you'd like to see, and I hope that you come back, and I hope to see you again. Bye, YouTube.